As you study and play No Limit Hold'em, a critical concept that's going to come up over and over again is the idea of pre-flop hand strength. How valuable are the two cards you start with? You probably know that pocket aces is the strongest pre-flop hand in Texas Hold'em. They actually have over an 80% chance of winning by the river against a single random opponent. At the bottom of the range, we have deuce 7 off. It's the worst starting hand in the game. But what about every hand in between? There's actually 169 of them. So let's break up the entire set of potential hands into 3 categories: pocket pairs, suited hands, and non-suited hands. Pocket pairs represent 13 of the 169 possible hands, so they're quite rare. You're going to see them 1 out of 17 hands dealt. And at a 9-man table, in terms of an orbit, you're going to see a pocket pair once every 2 orbits. So you're correct to get excited, even when you get dealt something like pocket 5s or pocket 7s. These are strong hands, and if you're in middle or late position, you should play them aggressively when the pot is folded to you. You'll have the lead, so on the flop, even if you don't improve, you can stick in a continuation bet, and you're going to win the pot more often than not. And you might even flop a set. The other 2 categories, suited hands and non-suited hands, each have 78 hand combinations, which brings us to a total of 169. Why do we separate suited versus non-suited? It's a small difference, but in the long run, it can mean hundreds, thousands, even millions of dollars for a pro. Suited hands are things like 2-3 suited to ace-king suited. And then, of course, non-suited, non-paired hands are 2-3 off all the way to ace-king off. And the difference in value is because you have a bigger potential of making a flush when your starting hand is suited. And that actually translates, depending on the situation, between 2 and 4% greater chance of winning the hand by the river. Suited hands are more common than pocket pairs, but still sort of rare. You're going to see 2 of them per orbit. And then the most common starting hand category is non-suited, non-paired hands. You'll get these dealt to you 6 times per 9 hands, 6 times in an orbit. Let's move on now and talk about these 169 starting hands in terms of percentile. So we have a bunch of different hand groupings, 1 on each line here in the bottom half of the screen. That top line, hopefully you recognize it. It's the 5 strongest starting hands in Hold'em. Pocket aces through jacks and ace-king suited. These hands are actually the top 2% of all hands, so they are the elite. You should be very proud when you get them and play them strongly, try to build a big pot. If we move down one more line, it's only the top 4%. So we added a bunch of hands in, but they're still pretty rare, so you should pay attention. Be happy when you get one of these hands. They include things like pocket 10s and king queen suited. What if we move down one more line? It seems like we're getting pretty far down there. 9-8 suited, king queen off, king 10 suited, but we're actually still in the top 10% of starting Hold'em hands. And that might surprise some people that king 10 suited is actually better than 9 out of 10 possible Texas Hold'em starting hands. How about the next line? Jack 8 suited, pocket 5s, any suited ace down to ace 2 suited. These are the top 20%. And the next line, the top 30%. Now we're seeing hands that most players will never touch. Gap suited connectors down to 5-3 suited, and a hand like Jack 9 off. Most tight aggressive players, which makes up a lot of the audience, people who are beginners or intermediates, won't play these hands, and rightfully so. But it's interesting to see that they're still better than 70% of all possible starting Hold'em hands. As you become a loose aggressive player, you're going to actually start adding in some hands from this 20% and 30% line. So pay attention to it. Keep it, filed for future reference. At the bottom, if you jump down to 100% of starting hands, all 169, you'll see this referred to as any 2 cards, abbreviated ATC. So what's in between the top 30 and then the full 100%? Are there any hands that a lot of people play or the average player thinks is strong that actually aren't? So we've written a few down. The biggest offender here is unsuited aces below ace 10. So ace 9 to ace 2 off. Right off the bat, it's unsuited, so you're missing that 2 to 4% edge. But even more importantly, you're dominated when you're in a big pot, most likely. If you flop an ace and the pot grows by the turn and is even bigger on the river, you're against somebody with an ace, and they usually will have you out-kicked. They'll win the pot because their kicker will be better than your 9, 8, and so on. And because of this, you just don't want to play ace 9 off and below. Domination is too costly. Any king offsuit also doesn't make the top 30%. And then connectors that are unsuited also are not in the top 30% of hands. So now you have the complete picture about all 169 possible starting hands. Watch our video called Starting Hands and the Gap Concept to learn which of these hands you should be raising from which position.